We are putting these girls to work, and while it may look like a graveyard right now, I promise that these were once thriving kitchen garden beds that really needed a revamp. So we've got a big reveal at the end of this. They're gonna be little bitty. Delicious.
I'm so sorry.
Welcome back to the Better Together homestead that is growing just by a little bit more, maybe a few more square feet. Not children. We've got 5 of those and we're happy with them. But if you were on the last video, you heard us talk about expansion on our house, or I guess it's an addition. Not really sure what you call it, but we're building more house. And we have some things to check off the list to do that. One of them was a really good, surprising upgrade.
So if you saw our last video, nobody actually mentioned this. I would have thought that someone would have said something.
Called out the problems?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had just, in one of our latest gardening videos.
I've got some dill. I am desperate to save dill this year because I learned how to make homemade ranch and I need dill in my life.
Kelly planted into her kitchen garden. Well,
great success.
I kind of had a thought. I was like, Kelly, I think that these beds are not going to last. She said, no, we're going to figure it out. So Kelly, tell me the story of why we have 2 garden graveyards.
I like the word story. There's always one. So a few years ago, we connected with Vego Garden Beds and we were like, yeah, this is good timing. We actually need some beds. So we got these 2 white, kind of creamish colored ones. We loved how quickly they went together. I wanted 2 beds right outside of the house so that I could come get herbs, so that I could come grab some tomatoes. And we did grow tomatoes and peppers, but as far as like maintaining these beds, this became one of those things that we spent way more time in the big garden, and instead this wound up being like a scratch pile for chickens. So what really is happening here is that these aren't the best placements for these beds. We had a need in the main garden, and where I'm standing is where we're putting our addition to the house. So in no world, Lord willing, 6 months from now, does this work here.
And whenever we did our garden renovation last year with all of our new Vego beds, I always needed...
It was this year. It was just in February.
It was totally
We've done
2024.
so much in that time.
It was definitely 2024. We always had this one little spot where a 4x8 bed wouldn't fit. We had like these little old beds. It was what I built back in Katy. And so we always knew that we were gonna replace them. And it's not hard to build a garden bed. It's super easy. The time to pull out the saw and to cut the boards and to measure everything, it just wasn't something that ever happened. Then the thought process and the plan for building out the house and having to take down Kelly's kitchen garden, we had an epiphany. And it has honestly like made us even more fans of Vego's beds.
The original bed, so small, needing to be ripped up, was not a big deal. But then what are we gonna put there anyways? They were growing something. So the problem was that we had these 4x8 beds and those wouldn't fit over there. But the sweet spot was just remembering why Vego works so good. And that's that these are modular. So what if we just took 4x8 and made it shorter by like 2.5 feet?
Took away 2 of the panels and then bam, fits exactly what we need it to be. Let's go look at it.
This is all it took to turn beds that were not helpful or productive to us or in the right spot. We just removed 1 panel from each side of each bed, and that was it. Like, it just worked. When you see the difference in these beds on the ground and these beds in the garden, I think you know exactly what I mean. These better grow us like prize-winning vegetables because we took these beds, leveled all of it out. We didn't put anything, like there's no Hugo culture in there. There's no sticks. Bo was like, hey, should we put sticks? And I was like, quite frankly, I do not want to spend the time going to gather sticks right now and doing this. I just want to get these beds in, and they're gorgeous. So there is about, I don't know, till here at least, full of just straight compost, like out of the cow, seasoned, aged to a delicious perfection, smelling like dirt again, tons of microbial health in this bed, and then like another 4 inches of just wood chips. But the real beauty here, guys, the obvious star of the show, is the moringa tree that won't quit.
Okay, so back up. So tell us why we did the beds here with the trellis and everything. They just look.
It looks great. They look so cute. They're like a little, like, you know, if you get a Snickers, there's like the king size bar, but then there's like a fun size. These are fun sized, and they're so, so cute. And I'm really excited that it wasn't as hard as we thought it might have been to take them apart and then rebuild them.
No, it was so easy.
And they look great. Let's address the very obvious, like, why is there so much room? I guess this is about I think it's about 3.5 feet, maybe a little bit bigger. This is kind of the perimeter that we've put around most spaces in the garden. So we go this way, we turn this way, we keep walking, we turn that way, and it's about the same width wherever we go, even right in between these two things. I'll show you why.
So Kelly was giving me a hard time. She was saying we could have fit the full 4x8 Vego beds in here, but if it wasn't for Bo's
giant
fodder
tree
trees.
experiment.
And I'm like, no, this is perfect, because then you can still get the Gorilla Cart all around.
There is not a spot except between the very small beds in the back that we're really intentional about what we're going to plant there, like flowers. But the Gorilla Cart can get everywhere in this whole garden. And then something else that we haven't completed here, and I think the garden is always, you know, sort of like a chapter book, and there's always another chapter in it. So we have been bringing the tractor to the back of the garden and dumping all of the soil into the garden. Today, we needed to address this side. So this is the side that still needed so much love. It feels so clean and tidy, like when you get a haircut and the back of your hair is just nice and fresh. That's what this feels like.
Have you ever shaved your head?
I mean, I cut your hair and I know what that feels like. But bringing the tractor around today, obviously.
Are you gonna pat yourself in the back and say?
Heck yeah! When would I ever have an invention and not share it with the people? Because obviously I invented this technique I'm going to show you. But bringing the tractor around, obviously we're not going to get it in here. And Bo was loading up the Gorilla Cart. And after the first load, I was like, I feel like we're working harder than we need to. But leave it to me to find the path of least resistance. I'd say that's in general our marriage.
Sure.
I'm going to find the path of least resistance.
I'm always going to find the resistance and hit it, and just, I have to go through that wall.
So it makes a lot of sense that we would use our powers for good today. And
What was your idea?
we dropped the tractor onto a tarp, and we were thinking, well, then we'll drag the tarp in and we'll just shovel it in. But then we perfected this idea even further, and we brought the tractor up to the tarp, dumped a third of the bucket onto the tarp, carried the tarp, dumped the tarp into the beds, then did another load, and we finished this in easily half the time. Probably saved ourselves 3 hours total.
I was giving Kelly a hard time. I'm like, sure, babe, it's gonna save us time. Sure, yeah,
like,
no.
Great idea.
Yeah, great
honey.
idea. But no, it worked. Great job.
You did good.
And I looked up, I was like, it's barely noon and we're done with a huge garden project, which never happens. Our kids are usually, no joke, like they're usually fighting
like, this never
inside.
happens.
Okay, show us a little bit of what you're growing right now.
All right. I would say the best term to describe the garden right now is that it's sleepy with surprises. Is this sensible to anyone. Sleepy with surprises. All right, this bed, along with the other, is going to get improved probably in the next couple of months, especially if we have construction going on at the house to build that really cool sort of like A-frame type ceiling. We are gonna have a lot of time out here. So these are growing. This is sort of the herb spot. It's where a lot of herbs have come to like be rehoused. One of them is gonna be this beautiful, very robust parsley plant. I mean, it's coming out of everywhere, guys. It's coming out of everywhere. So it was in that bed. Now we'll probably put it over in the herbal section of the grocery store. This is a bay leaf. I have to encourage everyone who can. I have no idea what its like zones are, but this is just the first year of this bay leaf. I think I cut it back in the winter and it'll grow more like a bush. This is what I put in soups and stocks, and it tastes fantastic. I wish I'd known about bay leaf sooner. Like, I always buy it from the store, but herbs at home are so much cheaper. This is a can't stop, won't stop oregano. It will not stop. It choked out the sage that was here before. Basil has gone to seed. I do say lazy a lot, and I feel convicted, like maybe that's the wrong word. Let's say resourceful. So I don't care how much basil grows. I'll pull it if I don't want it. This is what I did yesterday. And that's how we're planting basil this year, friends. This is your sign. I want to be not a salesy person on this channel, but I feel like I can sell you on yourself. Like, I feel like if I can do this, I'm not even joking that you can do this. This was a Trader Joe's basil. I think both of these were. It was a purple one was from a friend. This is a sweet basil from Trader Joe's, here and here. And you buy them and they're like 12 inches tall max. And I planted them. And now they're beautiful and still fragrant and bolting, and they had a great season. We ate a lot of delicious basil meals. Honeysuckle here, that just represents my crushed hopes and dreams. Now that my friend Chelsea is not moving next door. Chelsea, I hope you're watching this. You feel really guilty. This was gonna vine over the door that we were gonna cut in our fence. It was gonna be magical. And instead, I'm gonna find another magical purpose in it. But I don't know. I need to look this up. There are berries on this, and I didn't know that a honeysuckle would berry. So I'm super curious. I'll have to look up what that is. Like, what do you do with honeysuckle berries? I 100% am growing gomphrena again because I didn't do anything with this over the summer. It stayed its normal, like these were white and light pink and this sort of like magenta color. And these are growing again. I didn't plant them. They're just happy now that it's cooler and wetter outside. So I'm gonna leave these here and see what they do, and probably cut them out later when I don't feel like seeing them anymore. But they're doing great. Over here is pretty exciting. These are 2-week start onions. So I bought them from Onion Starts at the feed store, you guys. I didn't even like go on a special website. I went to the feed store because my kid wanted to sell some pecans. And they had starts there. They're yellow and then a white version. And I think I planted a lot. Like, maybe we will have too many, but we'll just share them. There are like 48-ish plants in this bed. And they started closer to this size. I'm trying to see if I can find like a puny one that's not doing good. But I don't think there is one. All of them are doing really well. And these are the onions. This is probably the length they were when they started. And this is where they are 2 weeks later.
This is garlic.
No, these are onions. I'll show you the garlic.
Ooh.
I know, we're growing things. More onion starts. I think I did 3 across here just to kind of see what would happen if we crowd them in. But this was a surprise. When I came through, this had a bunch of zinnias and a few other flowers from the summer. When I came through in the summer and I was clearing those out, I also left the ones that were still growing, but planted onion seeds. So these are actually onion seeds.
That's onion or garlic?
These are onion.
Where's the garlic?
I'll show you.
Okay.
But these are onion seeds.
So what's different?
This is an onion start.
What's the difference between an onion seed and an onion start?
It's how you get it. So just like a
seed. Okay, so you didn't
Yeah.
get this at the feed.
No.
You got this a long time ago.
I planted these a long time ago. I completely
Okay.
forgot about it and didn't think they'd do anything. Who knows how many I planted, but at least half a dozen of them are growing well. And then this was a kitchen mishap. My garlic, ooh, you can smell it. My garlic sprouted under the island in my kitchen. So we came out and we planted it. I think we planted maybe a dozen, but all of these were under the ground. I just put the sprouted end up. They were under the ground, and all of this has happened in 2 weeks as well.
Oh, so this is what we were gonna put into the little Vego composter, but
Yes.
But I was like, hey, can we
Yeah.
propagate any of these before we?
You held it out, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, fine, I'll go plant them.
Aren't you glad that you did?
I'm so glad that you had that idea. I don't even know if there is like a reason to ever do a late fall garden tour. So this is nothing comprehensive. There are probably a lot of things working under the soil right now, and that's not what this video is for. But something as I just walked from one end of the garden to the other is enjoying the order of the garden. And I think I said this in February when we first put these gray beds in from Vego, was there feels like there's order. You want to get into your garden. You want to address the problems and you want to start new things. And I would say February till now, even revamping those beds that we got over 2 years ago, these work. They're this like nice, orderly thing. And if you're like me, where sometimes it feels like there's chaos in your mind and you just need to start crossing things on the list, or like Bo, who has literally 27 tabs open at the top of his computer. There's a lot going on there. I just have to say, thank you, Vego. Like, thank you guys for sponsoring these videos. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to try your beds, because they create this order and this sense of like enjoyment in our garden. So if you guys want Vego beds, we've got links down below. If you want to try any of the other products like the composter we've used or the tomato towers that we've used, those are all available as well. And even if you are not gardening right now, this is a great time to like reflect. What do I want in my garden? What did I not like about last year's garden, or starting it for the first time? Just begin planning now. Like, write it down, draw a little sketch on graph paper, get a little notebook out and start writing your ideas or gathering thoughts about what grows well in your area. Because if we had never started planning this out last November, then when February came and we were ready to put these in the ground, we would have waited a whole nother season. And instead we used last fall, last winter to map out what this space could look like. It's so enjoyable, and I have things that are going to grow through the winter into the next year. So I hope that for you too. Like, happy gardening. I do want to get more berries like prepped in my mind. This looks so good. Our happy little moringa. And I love the squatty bed. It's the perfect length. It's exactly what we needed.
We need some starts, babe.
We do. I'm gonna get some from Amanda next week.
We had fun. We learned stuff with them.
We did learn a lot with them.